Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session on Caffeine and Carrots. For those who don't know Caffeine and Carrots, it is a customer success community connect platform, that we run at Smart Carrot. This is the offline version of it, where we connect with, experts in the area of customer success and various other related areas. Today, we have a special guest with us who is an expert in the domain of marketing and customer experience. I would like to welcome today Sue Duris. Hi, Sue. Welcome to the session today.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So many of you might already know Sue, but a quick background for somebody who's tuning in for the first time. Sue is basically a co-founder and director of marketing and customer experience of M4 Communications. M4 Communications is a marketing and customer experience consulting firm. Sue is also a very avid writer, and she speaks regularly on various topics, ranging from customer experience to marketing, and also touching on topics like diversity and inclusion. Apart from that, Sue also hosts the CX Chat, which is a weekly Twitter chat about everything to do with customer experience, right? So we are happy to have you in the session, and maybe you could start by telling viewers a little bit about M4 Communication, and then we can get into the topic itself.
Oh, absolutely. So M4 Communications actually started as a marketing consultancy. So I spent a lot of time in Silicon Valley, working in senior manager, director, CMO, VP of marketing roles. And then .com bubble burst hit, and people were asking me different questions about different things. And it just, I started to do some contracting, some freelancing for existing startups and some up and coming startups. And it just seemed like the next phase of my journey. We talk about customer experience journeys and journey maps and stuff and things like that. Well, we each have our own journey. And so that was my next step on my career journey. And so M4 Communications was born around 2001, and around 2010, 2011, when customer experience started to come up, and it really wasn't customer experience. It was more, what do we do? How do we have sold things to customers, but how do we keep customers? And that's been my one of my hot buttons for years, even back in the 90s when I was working in telecom. Acquiring customers is great, but how do you keep customers? Because the retention and the loyalty, that's what drives growth. And so customer experience started to really shake up industry. I mean, it started with B2B, and then B2C came on, and the whole omni-channel customer experience started. And here we are, that customer experience is more a mindset. How do we train ourselves within ourselves and corporations so that we have that ingrained in our DNA, so that when we come face to face with somebody, we're already using what we've learned from customer experience to help that customer basically help them understand who we are, and help them understand, more importantly, that we know who they are, and we know what their issues are, what keeps them up at night, what motivates them,
Right.
and building that trust so they figure, yeah, they get what my problem is and they have a solution that can help me and make me successful. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to trust.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So well said. And I think that's a great segue to, get into the topic of today, which is primarily the convergence of customer experience and customer success, which we often encounter, and a lot of our customers and prospects also would like to know more about, right? And just to set the trend, on this, and just get this topic going. Maybe I could start with a perspective around that, and then you can share your thoughts around that, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
So in my opinion, I think, customer success is, something that we term as an operating model, right? A set of best practices, that we consider, which help customers achieve their business goals, right? While customer experience is much larger, right? It's a strategy. It's something that we use to educate our customers, be it about the brand, be it about the product, so on and so forth. We communicate its value. We assist them in their journey as they go about it. We also address their problems, and ultimately also help build brand loyalty, right? So it's all of that encompassing, right? So when you look at the convergence of or the influence of one over the other, in our opinion, customer success is a path which, when embarked on, hugely impacts the customer experience, right? And that in our opinion is the key aspect over here. Customer success is what we term as a key driver for customer experience, right? So would like to hear your thoughts around that, Sue. How do you think, and how do you think this pans out when we're talking about the convergence of customer experience, with customer success, and what does that mean for customers?
Well, the whole thing around convergence of customer experience and customer success came out of an article that I wrote a few years ago. In fact, mycustomer.com just posted an article that somebody wrote, again bringing up things that I had said about convergence between the two.
Very interesting.
And depending on if you have roots in customer success versus roots in customer experience, you'll have two different ideas. And I remember I wrote it. It's on the M4 Communications blog, which is m4comm.com/blog. You could see that there.
Yes, you said a good job.
And I posted it on another community, customerthink.com, and I had some great comments and some people that just didn't agree. And the convergence has a lot of what you talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You just chatted about.
Right.
The similarities to me in customer success and customer experience, both disciplines want to drive growth.
Mm-hmm.
Both disciplines want to drive loyalty.
Right.
And both disciplines want to reduce churn. I mean, those are, I think, the three foundational things. The differences you had mentioned. Customer experience is more of a strategic. From a customer experience standpoint, we don't look at things when a customer signs on the dotted line. We look at, or we should, I'll say that, because there's different types of customer experience in industry. From my standpoint, I look at customer experience before the zero moment of truth. And the zero moment of truth is something that Google coined on, a few years back. And it's all about customers. They realize they have a problem. They realize that, I have to go search for a solution. So that's the zero moment of truth. But before they're searching for you, you need to have things in place. And earlier when we started, talked about having customer experience built in our DNA, in our mindset. So we're constantly acting from a place of empathy, a place of curiosity, being an active listener, being a coach in trying to help not only the customer, but being a coach internally, helping our internal teammates. This customer has an issue. I need us to get together and find out what's the best and easiest solution for this customer so that they can be successful. So these are things that we have to have ingrained in our DNA before we can even put content out on the website. So when they're looking at websites and different things, that's where the whole, what they're doing resonates with me. And that's where the trust starts, at that point, not when they're looking at a trial or they're whatever the next step is. That's why it's very important from a customer experience standpoint, and where a lot of customer experience teams and organizations within brands, companies look at before the zero moment of truth. What do we want to be for our customers? And that's a lot of analysis, doing the research. And when CX teams understand what the customers want, that's where they use content, and they either, by virtue of creating content on what customers' issues are and what keeps them up at night, so that they understand what the brand can do for them. That's what builds trust. And that's where the strategy piece comes in. So CX is looking at before they sign, so that they can take them on a journey. Are they aware? Do they understand, not only being aware of the brand and the products and services, but is there an alignment between the customer's needs and what the brand's understanding of those needs are, and driving the journey from there. And that's where customer experience is very relational. Relationships start at that early stage. And it's more overarching. It's about the brand versus customer success, where it's very transactional. It's very product focused. Whether you're a company that has a freemium versus a premium, or it's just the product. So there are differences there. But even though that there's differences and similarities, I think it's a very synergistic relationship. customer experience needs customer success, because this customer success has some key things that they bring to the table. Vice versa, customer success can learn about things from customer experience to help them round out a complete journey for their customer.
Yeah, I think you rightly pointed out, those differences, and they clearly call out, though they're different in their own ways, how they could be synergistic. I think that was a very good point that you make, Sue. So, in your opinion, how do you think customer success companies can help drive customer experience, right? Because it is largely understood that there's an aspect of customer experience which is upfront with the sales cycle, and then it's largely the customer success team that handles the bulk of the relationship with the customers, right? And what a lot of customer success teams don't do very well are being in tuned and aligned to the aspect of ensuring customer experience, though it's an implicit need, right? So what, in your opinion, should be done, and how should companies, customer success companies, help drive customer experience?
Well, I always point out Medallia was so forward thinking that they knew that they had customer experience. So I'm going a little backwards on your question. I'm taking a different route, it's to prove a point that Medallia knew that it had some gaps that someone like Strike Deck could fill. So where customer success can help customer experience, I believe, is in the onboarding and the advocacy piece. Those are important places and stops, and can have a lot of friction. So there are moments of truth in those areas, but understanding onboarding, for example, onboarding, in my opinion, if you don't have a structured onboarding program in place, you can lose, I would say, anywhere between 25% to a third of your customers if you don't have that. Right. Because if you don't have onboarding, you're basically saying, well, you signed on the dotted line, it's kind of up to you to figure it out, and if you need us, we're here, as opposed to structured onboarding that I've seen some customer success companies and other organizations really drive it. And depending on where that sweet spot timeline for an onboarding, the length of time of onboarding, it depends. But that's through experimentation. Trial and error. The ones that I've seen work well are about up to 18 months. There's at the beginning, there's more hand holding, and you're giving them a little bit more freedom as they're adopting the product and things of that nature. That piece, while in the journey, customer experience teams don't always understand the nuances and the important elements of onboarding. So I start with onboarding because a lot of customer experience companies I see, they have onboarding, they have the nurturing, they have the renewal, expansion, and advocacy. And it's like these four or five things, milestones, but lots happening between those, and it's engagement, and it's it's taking the pulse of the customer, the voice of the customer. And that's where, when you're focused on customer success, it becomes a little murky, because if you're getting the customer voice on a product that's already out there versus a customer voice on their experience, that's why looking at the experience end to end can help customer success teams, find the sweet spot of those customers.
Right, absolutely. And I think I like the 2 points that you raised about, onboarding and the voice of the customer. And that's something that Smart Carrot, does pretty well in terms of, trying to, look at the voice of the customer. And that's where we have this, campaign module, which actually helps, our customers send out targeted campaigns to different audiences and at different points of time, to ensure that they're always connected, while also considering surveys as an important tool to collate and collect feedback. Right. So with that, what I'd like to do is look at another area, Sue, and I think this is an area that is also being looked at by the industry around addressing the customer success problem in the services industry. Right. And the services industry, and if you look at a lot of customer success solutions out there, we don't have a lot of them targeting the services world, right? We do have a lot of them targeting the SaaS products, but not so much in the services industry, right? So what's your take on that? And what do you think is different from achieving customer success and customer experience synergy in a SaaS world versus a non-SaaS world? What's your take on that?
Well, I'm a big believer that customer success should expand, actually transcend the SaaS sector. Yes, software is very important. That's where customer success got its roots, got basically the training ground. But there are customers in every aspect, and services, it is a big area. Absolutely. Where it's the same thing. They still need to understand the service. So there's the onboarding. You still have to nurture them, because services do have a renewal. It might be longer than a year. Maybe it's shorter than a year. Right. All these different milestones, the onboarding piece, the nurturing piece, the renewal piece, the expansion, the advocacy. Advocacy is huge, because if you can get your customers on board as an ambassador and helping selling for you, we talk about how much revenue and how much revenue is made by customers that stay, and looking at customer lifetime value as a very important, right, very important metric. We also look at it's less costly to acquire a customer, but we forget about the piece that they're helping us sell. Right. So those sales costs are reduced. So really, in a SaaS world, in a service world, it's all the same. Yeah, there's some nuances and different things that you may need to tweak, but it's basically the same process. There's a journey. Customer is taking the journey. They're looking for you. Sometimes you need to be out there. We talk about push and pull marketing. As a brand, brands need to be out there before a prospect even realizes that they have a problem.
Right.
And that's all about being where those prospects are. There's plenty of customer success, plenty of customer experience communities that brands, that customer success companies that offer this should be out developing relationships with people, with other companies that could use their services, but not knowing that they have a problem yet. But listening to a case study or an interesting story that we helped this customer. This customer was in a bad way. It could be service industry. It could be a different industry. Having those stories, it's all about storytelling and resonating and trust. I think I've said trust. Trust is the big theme, but it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the fact that, how you narrate your stories, because there are so many of them, and often, it's outside the purview of customer success tools. And that's why it does not get into, the overall process and make it missed out, right? So in the same breath, right? So what role do customer success solutions actually play in helping better, customer experience, right? Because do you think there are ways that such stories that you spoke about can actually, come across as maybe a coaching or a mentoring, aspect to customer success managers, which will help them in their, customer success journey and in achieving customer experience, right? So what's your take on that? Do you think that, solutions can help pull these together?
I think they very well can. And you were talking about employees, and I was thinking, when we were talking about empathy, I was thinking emotional intelligence. Because whether you're a customer experience professional, whether you're a customer success professional, whether you're aligned, and I'm a big I'm a strong advocate that in companies, whether it's a customer success company or another company, customer success and customer experience teams cannot be siloed. They need to be aligned together. That's the first thing. The second thing, one thing that we believe in customer experience, and I'm pretty sure that customer success professionals believe this as well, is employee experience drives customer experience. By that, I mean your employees need to have a good experience in the organization. And if they don't have that good experience, they're not going to be engaged. And if they're not going to be engaged, they won't engage the customer. And if the customer doesn't feel engaged, they're going to question, is this the right company for me? Chances are they're going to leave. So that chain is very much key. So when customer success professionals are talking with customers, it's very important that they're active listening, they're showing empathy, they're being curious, they're acting as a coach, not only with the customer, but with their internal teams, so they can help make the customer successful. Being a data scientist, and when I say data scientist, understanding that the world is not just customer health score and net promoter score, that there are other key metrics that drive growth. And that's what a customer success organization company should be looking at. How am I going to reach my North Star? How am I going to get closer to that? And it all comes down to growth. And growth is all about understanding the customer, providing them with the tools, building trust, leading them, understanding what their journey is. Because what you might think within your company is the journey that the customer is on, might not be their journey. That's why it's important to have journey mapping workshops, and either the internal teams involved create what they think the map is and have it validated by the customer, or actually have the customer in the room. So there's two options there. But expanding beyond the typical, the onboarding and the nurturing and the renewals and the expansion and the advocacy, to understand how that customer interacts with the brand, interacts with the product, because that's going to help the journey. It's going to help the voice of the customer. It's going to help what the company wants to achieve. It's going to help with the outcomes. It's going to help with everything.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that, understanding the journey, plays such a critical role in not only defining the experience, but making sure, all of that come together.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's a very good point that you make, Sue. So great. I mean, these were wonderful insights. And what I'd like to close with, Sue, is, the important aspect of the mindset, right? In all of this, it's so important to ensure that, customer success professionals ultimately, have the mindset of ensuring customer experience, through the whole process, So how do you think that can be achieved, and what cultural changes might need to be brought about to ensure that customer success professionals are able to bring in this mindset change?
That's one thing that we didn't talk about, was culture. So for us at M4, we have a mathematical equation, and that's culture plus employee experience plus customer experience drives growth. Customer experience, customer success, customer experience, success, customer success, employee experience success, and all these things do not happen without a healthy culture that not only supports it, but champions it. We hear all the time that customer experience starts at the top. I'm a top-down, bottom-up person, that as an employee, I have a responsibility. As a C-suite leader, I have a responsibility. It's not one person's thing. Responsibility. We're all in this together. We've heard cliches. It takes a village. It takes a company to drive customer success, customer experience. As far as active listening and empathy and being curious and coaching and understanding data, having that before the customer, before you're interacting with the customer, that's where interacting with your coworkers, interacting outside work, showing empathy every day, because empathy, where really all this customer success, customer experience stems from, it's empathy. Empathy is a muscle. And if we want to be strong, we can't just say, I'm going to be strong today. You have to go into the gym and practice. And practice makes almost perfect. None of us is perfect, but gets us to as close as to perfection to actually help the customer drive the outcomes that they want. And there's a lot of things that can be done. Walking in nature is a real great tool. It works for me, and it's actually helped me with my empathy and active listening and being curious. Another thing that is huge, is sometimes when an employee gets on the phone with a customer, because they've used it day in, day out, is corporate jargon. Get the corporate jargon out, because immediately a customer, what is that? You've already lost me. Use the language the customer uses. And if you're not sure the language the customer uses, a great tool is to talk with customer service teams or the contact center. And if you do have a call center, ask to hear tapes or chats. If you don't have a contact center, you're doing everything online, to look at the chat tool. And first and foremost, it's helping the customer. Second, you're aligning with other departments, other teams. So it has a win-win situation. But little things like that, it's one of those things that you practice. When you practice it, it becomes your mindset. When it becomes your mindset, it's in your DNA. So you're automatically coming from a place of empathy, coming from a place of curiosity, being an active listener.
Very well summarized. I really like the points that you laid out there, and I think I'm sure our listeners have lots to take away in terms of how do you build empathy, and that's a critical building block in helping you develop that mindset and action things out, right? So I think very well summarized. And the other aspect which we could take away is that ultimately we're all in this together, right?
Exactly.
So if you're looking at our topic, the convergence of customer experience and customer success, it has to be something that we all come together and make sure that we make it work, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you, Sue. That was very nice, insightful, pointers that you provided us. So we're very happy about that. I'm sure our listeners have lots to take away from this, right?
Absolutely. And I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter. If they want to connect, I'm available.
Absolutely. I'm sure they would want to. So great. So lovely talking to you, Sue, and we will be in touch again.
Lovely to chat with you as well.
Thank you.
Bye.